Thank you very much, Dino, and good morning, everybody. So innovation is something that we're looking at in all sorts of areas for the REA, but obviously what's happening to the automobile is one of our key areas. I always think when you're going to talk about the future, it's always quite interesting just to talk about the past. I've just got a couple of photos here, I hope. This is a photo from 1906. Oops, take that one back. And that's probably about as many cars as there were in Adelaide at that time. And as you can see, they all look pretty much the same. If we go forward 10 years to 100 years ago today, you've got the cars interacting with the horse and buggy, which of course is gone, but the trams. And in a sense, 100 years on, these have been modernised, but there hasn't been a huge evolution in the car and the way we get around. And I think Rita touched on it earlier when she talked about the evolution or the introduction of electric vehicles, because I think that's been the beginning almost of the kind of innovation away from the way we drive today. I mean, throughout the 20th century, the car became so fundamental to our independence and our sense of well-being in Australia, as well, obviously in South Australia. And we've had pretty much a love affair with the car and with driving the car ourselves. And I just recently, about 10 days ago, bought my first electric vehicle, and it occurred to me what happens when you brake, when you're not standing at a petrol station anymore with your hand on the lever of the pump that's going into your car. You're kind of breaking an emotional connection with your car. And I think that's what EVs will start to do for us, will help us shift our view of what our relationship is with a vehicle going forward, and especially in this world where we've got a lot of the driverless cars, the shuttles, the pods, all this coming down the road towards us. And so we've been pretty active in thinking about the space for a while. In fact, in about 2010, we put out a publication called Mobility for Life, where we're looking at, people's needs and how they're going to get around with or without a car from sort of the cradle to the grave. So Rita showed this photo. This is me at the launch in Perth of the driverless shuttle that our sister club is now operating on the foreshore in Perth. And I had a ride around it. And in fact, we're putting together an application to the state government. I don't know if you know that they've put out $10 million over 3 years for organisations, institutions, groups to trial driverless technology in South Australia, and we've got a collaboration together, and we are going to be looking at purchasing one of these for ourselves with partners on South Australian roads. So hopefully that will be successful, and watch the space. They'll make an announcement who the successful bidders are before Christmas, because we understand that we've got to get into this field and play with these things and work out how they're going to disrupt our business. We have built a very successful business over 113 years on the back of the motor car. Over 51% of people who have a licence in this state are members of the REA, and for a heck of a lot of them we provide car insurance as well. And in the future, it's not just about driverless cars that we may own, it will be the cars that we get in, the Uber variation where we will not own those cars. So obviously we have great threats to our core business today. Looking at what else is around though in terms of mass transport, this has just been launched in China. This is a bus that actually goes over the traffic, so different ways of looking at how we're going to configure our roads. The cars go underneath it, a different version, but they're actually trialling that at the moment. So we really talk about mobility as a service. So we talk about mass. So it's a bit messy, I know, but it's kind of a framework, if you like, of how we think people are going to get around in the future. And this will hopefully mean that we don't have to keep building more roads, for example, because all we know about building more roads is they get filled up with cars. So if we want people to be able to move freely around, if we want an increase in our population, then we need to look at a broad variety of how we can actually move from point A to point B. So we see it that it takes in car sharing, bicycle sharing, it's the sort of person-to-person car rental, so the whole sharing economy and how that might come into the picture. Obviously Uber and autonomous vehicles are going to be very much a part of that picture. Okay, that's not going to happen today. It's probably not going to happen by 2020, but I think we can't underestimate how quickly the technology may develop, mainly because of new technology that's coming on board, the whole kind of nano computing, which is going to be giving technology a huge, exponential growth. I don't think we've got any idea of what's in front of us in some ways, because technology is going to change at a leap that we haven't seen before. So that in a nutshell is why we're in this space. And what it's going to look like, well, it's hard to actually know, but this is from YouTube, and I just thought I'd leave you with this view of one person view of how, when we have an autonomous state, how vehicles will get around. Now, which one do I press here for this? Because it's not working. Can you get that to work for me? No. Do you know why you can't get that to work for me? Sorry? I can't hear you. This is not? Oh, well, that's a real shame. Because it's a really interesting 1 minute of these cars and people and bikes all interacting without, in a completely kind of autonomous world that's completely connected, so everybody actually organically doesn't crash anybody else. Thanks very much.